been dreaming about that barn since I was 12 years old. The summer my best friend's cousin got married there, and I hid in the hayloft, eating cake, watching fairy lights flicker through the rafters like 1,000 tiny promises. 15 years later, I had finally saved enough. 6 years of overtime as a graphic designer, skipping vacations, eating peanut butter sandwiches for dinner, to put down the $28,000 non-refundable deposit on Willow Creek Barn for June 14th. My wedding, my date, the one day that was supposed to be mine alone. I stepped out of my beat-up Honda into the gravel lot, arms full of fabric swatches and a binder thicker than my thigh, heart racing like I was 16 again. The owner, Mrs. Delaney, was supposed to meet me at 3 to walk through lighting and table layouts. I was early, nervously early, because this was the first time in my life something this big was really, truly happening for me. That's when I saw the banner stretched across the barn doors. Savannah and Tyler, May 18th. Forever starts here. Gold balloons bobbed in the breeze. My little sister's engagement photos, ones I hadn't even known existed, grinned down at me from a giant foam board. My stomach dropped so fast I nearly dropped the binder. Mrs. Delaney came hustling out, clipboard in hand, apologizing before she even reached me. "Ellie, honey, I'm so sorry. Your mom called last week and said the family wanted to move the date up. She paid the balance in full, said it was a surprise for Savannah's engagement. I assumed you knew." I assumed you knew. 4 words that punched every ounce of air from my lungs. I drove home on autopilot, fingers white on the steering wheel, tears blurring the highway. My phone buzzed non-stop. Mom, Savannah, Mom again. I let every call go to voicemail. By the time I pulled into the driveway of the house I grew up in, the one I still quietly helped pay the water bill for every month, I wasn't crying anymore. I was something colder. Mom flung the door open before I could knock, smiling like she'd won the lottery. "Surprise! Savannah's getting married in the barn. Isn't it perfect? Tyler proposed in Paris, Ellie, and we just couldn't wait. You're always so busy with work. We figured June was too far away for you anyway." Savannah bounced down the stairs in a white silk robe that probably cost more than my monthly rent. Phone already filming. "Ellie, oh my God, you're here. Come see the new invitations. I upgraded to letterpress. Mom said you wouldn't mind." I stood frozen in the doorway, the same spot I'd stood 1,000 times bringing groceries, fixing the Wi-Fi, covering Savannah's credit card bills when her brand deals fell through. My voice came out smaller than I wanted. "That was my deposit. My date." Mom waved a manicured hand. "Oh, honey, it's family money. You put it down, we just redirected it. Savannah needs this now. You and Mark haven't even set a date officially. You're still thinking about it. She's engaged." Savannah laughed, flipping her hair for the camera. "Exactly. I'm the bride right now. You'll get your turn." I looked at Dad, sitting quietly on the couch, like always, eyes on the TV. He glanced up, offered a weak shrug that said, "Sorry, kid, you know how your mom gets." Same shrug he'd given when I was 10, and Savannah got my brand new bike because she'll use it more. I left without another word, drove straight to my tiny apartment, locked the door, and sat on the floor surrounded by save the dates I'd already ordered. That night, I didn't sleep. I just kept replaying every time I'd said yes when I wanted to say no. Every, "Sure, take the money," every, "It's fine." Every time I'd swallowed my own dreams so someone else could shine brighter. The next morning, Mark found me at the kitchen table, laptop open, eyes red. He made coffee without asking questions, just slid a mug across and sat beside me. "Tell me everything," he said. So I did. Every ugly detail. When I finished, he kissed my forehead and said, "We're getting that barn back. And we're getting married on June 14th, just like you planned." I wished it were that simple. Mrs. Delaney was kind but firm. The contract was with the family, the balance was paid, the date was locked. Mom had signed as event coordinator. My name was barely a footnote. I called Mom. She sighed like I was the unreasonable one. "Allie, stop being dramatic. It's one day. Savannah's influencer friends are flying in. They're sponsors. You wouldn't understand." I understood plenty. 3 days later, I was back at work, staring at mock-ups I couldn't concentrate on, when my phone rang. Unknown number. I almost ignored it, but something made me answer. "Eleanor Whitmore." The voice was warm, older, familiar in a way that tugged at childhood memories. "This is Aunt Vivian, your godmother. I hope I'm not calling at a bad time?" Aunt Vivian, the one who sent me birthday cards with $20 bills and legal advice instead of toys. The one Mom always said was too busy being a judge to visit. I hadn't spoken to her in 8 years. "How did you—" "Your grandmother told me everything before she passed. She made me promise to watch out for you if things ever got unbalanced. Mrs. Delaney is an old friend. She called me yesterday, worried sick about a sweet girl who'd saved for years only to have her wedding stolen. Tell me what happened, honey, from the beginning." So I told her everything. The overtime shifts, the skipped trips to Europe with friends, the way Mom called my savings family cushion, how Savannah's quick loans never got paid back, how I paid for her engagement ring photos, her dress alterations, even the Paris proposal video drone guy. Aunt Vivian listened without interrupting. When I finished, there was a long pause. Then, "Pack an overnight bag. Come to my house tomorrow. We're going to fix this." I almost said no, almost said it was fine, I'd figure something else out. But Mark squeezed my hand across the table and whispered, "Go." Aunt Vivian's house smelled like lemon polish and old books, exactly how I remembered it. She hugged me so tight I felt 12 again. Over tea, she spread papers across the dining table like a general planning battle. "First," she said, "your mother committed fraud. She misrepresented herself on the contract. Second, that deposit was a gift from you to the marriage, not a family slush fund. Third," she tapped a thick folder, "I've been keeping records. Your grandmother suspected this might happen one day. Every check you wrote, every Venmo to your parents marked for Savannah, every time you paid a bill that wasn't yours. It's all here." My mouth went dry. "How?" "Your grandma asked me to watch the accounts after your college graduation. She knew your heart, Ellie, knew you'd give until there was nothing left." We worked all weekend. Aunt Vivian drafted letters. I printed bank statements going back 6 years. We built a timeline brighter than any wedding mood board. Monday morning, we walked into the barn. Mrs. Delaney's eyes filled with tears when she saw Aunt Vivian. They hugged like old friends, then got down to business. Mom showed up 20 minutes later, Savannah trailing behind, filming everything on her phone. "This is ridiculous," Mom hissed. "Vivian, you're blowing this out of proportion." Aunt Vivian didn't raise her voice. She never did. "Clarice, you forged Ellie's intent on a legal contract. You used her separate property for unauthorized purposes. That's fraud. And this," she slid the folder across, "is 6 years of financial abuse. We can settle this quietly, or we can let a judge decide. Your choice." Savannah's phone lowered. For the first time in years, my little sister looked small. Mrs. Delaney cleared her throat. "I'm refunding the balance paid and restoring the original deposit to Miss Eleanor Whitmore. The May date is canceled. June 14th stands." Mom's face went white. Savannah started crying, real tears this time, not the pretty ones she saved for sponsorship videos. But my dress, my flowers, my followers. I should have felt triumph. Instead, I just felt tired. You can still get married, I said quietly, just not in my barn, not with my money. The refund hit my account 2 days later, plus damages for emotional distress and the rush fees I'd have to pay vendors. Aunt Vivian smiled when she saw the total. Enough for the barn and a honeymoon upgrade, I'd say. The weeks that followed were a blur. Mom texted apologies laced with guilt trips. Dad called once, voice cracking, said he was proud of me for standing up. Savannah went radio silent after her tearful apology video got ratioed into oblivion. I planned my wedding anyway. The real one. Not the quiet courthouse thing I'd started resigning myself to. Mark and I picked peonies the color of sunrise. I found a dress with pockets, that made me feel like the heroine, not the sidekick. Aunt Vivian walked me down the aisle when Dad said he didn't want to cause a scene. Mrs. Delaney cried harder than anyone. June 14th dawned perfect. Golden lights spilled through the barn rafters exactly like I remembered from 15 years ago. I stood in the loft where I'd hidden as a kid, watching my friends and Mark's family fill the seats. No ring lights, no sponsors, just love. Halfway through the ceremony, my phone buzzed in the bridal suite. A text from Savannah, a photo of her at the VFW hall downtown. Paper streamers sagging, folding chairs in rows. Caption, "It's not the barn, but it's ours. I'm sorry, Ellie. Really." I smiled, turned the phone off, and walked toward the man who'd never once asked me to be smaller. That night, under those same fairy lights, Mark spun me across the dance floor while Aunt Vivian toasted to the quiet ones who finally speak. I caught sight of myself in an old barn mirror, glowing, tall, unafraid. For the first time in 32 years, I wasn't paying for someone else's spotlight. I was standing in my own. The months after the wedding settled into something softer than I expected. Mark and I honeymooned in Santorini, paid for with the damages money, and I came home tanned and fearless. I quit taking Mom's calls that started with "Savannah needs" and started answering the ones from Aunt Vivian that began with "How's my favorite niece?" Savannah got married in September. I went, sat in the back row of the VFW hall and clapped when they kissed. Her dress was beautiful, rented, but beautiful. She found me afterward, eyes puffy from happy tears. "I paid for the photographer myself," she whispered. "First time ever." We hugged like sisters who'd finally met as adults. Mom still tries sometimes, sends texts about family dinner or just a small loan for the furnace. I reply with emojis now, hearts, praying hands, the occasional boundary in gentle words. She's learning, slowly. I kept the barn booked every June 14th for the next 5 years. Not for weddings, for me, anniversary parties. Just Mark and me, fairy lights, cake in the hayloft. Mrs. Delaney gives me the friends and family rate, says I earned it. Some nights I sit on our new porch, bought with money I no longer share, and think about that 12-year-old girl hiding upstairs, dreaming of a day that would be hers alone. I whisper to her across the years, "Wait for it, sweetheart. It comes." Not loud, not dramatic, just quiet and strong, like barnwood that stood 100 winters. And when it does, it's the most beautiful thing you'll ever see.